I feel like in this day and age, like, real is rare. It's important that I stay rooted and grounded on where I came from. If you in the streets at all, period, you were part of that war. The things that I witnessed, all the situations that I had to go through to get where I'm at, like, scarred me for life. Where I'm from, people dying, going on their way to school. I'll definitely give up all of this and start all over if I could get my peoples back. That street shit, like, I learned it'll just get you two things, dead or in jail. I always talk about her in songs. That was one of my favorite people in the world. You can potentially make a decision that could change your life for the worse, and you stuck with that decision for the rest of your life. When I woke up, I was in a hospital, and my pops was just explaining to me, like, yeah, man, they said if you would have been here any second or a minute later, you probably wouldn't have made it. You probably could have passed. I used to look out for, like, a lot of different things to, like, find happiness in, but I just had to find it within myself. We trained subconsciously to all think the same way, and so much distractions put out there, and it's like you gotta be able to outthink that and outthink your environment. I'm gonna turn into a whole new person, and I'm trying to set an example for the other people that's coming behind me.
It's like everybody's not my son, and if he says that he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it and be successful at it.
Every night before I go to sleep, like, I just sit there and just stare at the light and close my eyes and picture me living the lifestyle that I'm living now. That's my #1 goal and mindset, like, I gotta make it out of here. Even in a point in time where you could be up in your life, you could still be having the things in your past hunting you to make you still feel down at some point in time. So shit ain't perfect for nobody, no matter how good you're doing, so I just really be praying for a peace of mind. Everybody got some demons that they fighting, everybody got struggle with something. I don't know, for some reason it felt like I had angels looking over me or watching out for me or looking out for me, because there was a lot of situations that I'm like, damn, like, why didn't it go this way or why didn't it go that way? I feel like it's important to give back because I came up in that city from nothing.
I knew that once my son's platform elevated, once he had more resources, that he poured those things inside of the community, and I couldn't be prouder.
If you ain't staying true to yourself, and you wasting away. I know it's a lot of kids coming from where I come from, and I'm an inspiration for them. I feel like just reflecting on all of the shit I've been through up until this point, I overcame a lot of it, but it's still fucking me to this day. Like, whenever I'm feeling down, I'm gonna speak on it in my music just to help the next person get through what they going through.
He is and will be legendary. You heard it here first.
Who is Polo G? A dope-ass artist coming out of Chicago. Definitely here to stay, a lot of longevity. Gonna be considered one of the greats one day.
Thanks to the lockdowns in 2020, artists were stuck at home, making it a strong year for music. Unsurprisingly, one of the rappers to release during this period was Polo G, who since his arrival in 2019 has been one of the most consistent young rappers of our generation. The project he delivered in 2020 did not disappoint, and in my opinion, The GOAT was the best album we received throughout the whole year. Fast forward to June 2021, and we have yet another full-length project from Polo named Hall of Fame. This has made it 3 projects on the bounce. And just like the titles of these albums, this consistency only shows one thing. We are witnessing the beginnings of a legend. So 3 full-length albums in 3 years is an incredible amount of high-quality music. And this will certainly help to explain how Polo G has quickly become one of the biggest rappers in the game. However, I still think that people don't quite realise how impressive and fast his rise has been. Polo literally went from being in a jail cell to signing a huge record deal in 7 months' time. So let's take this right back to the start to work out how it all happened.
It was like, well, really, like, I was, like, I'm from the north side, grew up on the north side, you feel me, in my hood, but it's like, for most of my life too, I lived on the low end, but I was still going to school in my hood, you feel me? So I'm seeing it from all type of angles, you feel me? Like, on the low end, I'm coming home, you hear the gunshots, you see the red tape, yellow tape, you come on the block, you get into school, you see the red tape, yellow tape. It's like, oh, everywhere you go, really.
Taurus Tremani Bartlett was born on January the 6th, 1999 in North Chicago. He was raised in the Marshall Field Garden Apartments or 1300 block, and like many parts of Chicago, Marshall Field was renowned for being a very gang-prevalent area. Taurus was one of 4 siblings and was named after the Taurus star sign by his grandmother, as she believed in everything it stood for.
She passed away when I was in about 7th or 8th grade, and I was like one of her favorite grandkids, you feel me? And she just a person that's near and dear to me, so every chance I get, I just show respect to her.
His older sister and younger brother and sister all play a huge part into Taurus's drive for success. He often talks about feeling like a father figure towards his siblings, even though they did all actually have a strong father figure throughout their life.
See them as my own kids too, in a way. So it's like I gotta go get it for them, I gotta make it happen for them, and I gotta set an example, because I know them seeing me going hard, that's gonna make them want to chase their dream and go hard with whatever it is they want to do.
And his mother and older sister have always been exceptionally talented singers, which just goes to show that the Bartlett family have had music running through their blood. Taurus claims that from as early as he can remember, he had dreams and beliefs that he was going to be something special, and he often strayed away from the ideas of the normal education system. From boxer,
at one point in time, I wanted to be a wrestler. I was such a big WWE fan.
to basketball player to sports pundit, Taurus only ever dreamed of something outside of the box. And he also claims that he wrote his very first rap song at only 9 years old, even though music wasn't his main passion or focus at that point. Of course, with him growing up in an area like Marshall Field Gardens, there's always going to be a concern that he's going to grow up going down the wrong path. However, surprisingly, throughout his early life, he claims that he kept himself out of trouble, always kept his nose clean, and wasn't interested in the street life at all. And this is most likely down to the fact that he always had a strong mother and father figure in his life, which unfortunately a lot of kids from these type of areas and situations often don't have. However, despite this, in those mid to late teenage years, naturally Taurus became a lot more independent, and that is when the street life started to creep in.
I used to want to hoop, and my mama cared more than everybody else mama. So you feel me? She wouldn't let me go off and do all that. But when I got older, you feel me? It's like, I don't want to ask you for this. I don't want to, you feel me? I see you struggling and you need help yourself, so I'm going to just help myself. And I was chasing the whole rap thing. Everybody wasn't into that. Like my OG and my daddy, they weren't into that. So it was like, I had to get the money myself and do it.
Taurus saw things that no one should see, especially as a teenager.
Yeah, I lost my first friend. I was about 15 years old. It messed me up real bad mentally just to see my 16-year-old friend in the casket. And I'm like, damn, like, we watch each other grow up. It's fucking weird. Like, that's what's the norm where we from. Like, that's what everybody doing, and it's like everybody just looking up to the nigga who known for shooting and etc. It's like, so that's what you end up falling off into, and then when your homies dying and like that, and so much going on, you just fall off into the mix because you trying to just adapt to your environment.
And around the same time he started to get involved in the streets, he also got heavily more interested and involved in rap music and the culture surrounding it. He's always been around rap music because his family had an interest in the genre and they loved artists such as Tupac, so Taurus was very much brought up on that type of music. However, being in the streets and doing that type of activity is only going to further your love for the genre, as most rappers are talking to people from the streets. His biggest musical inspirations came from Lil Wayne.
I listened to G Herbo a lot. I became like more so a Dirk fan. Like everybody in Chicago had been Dirk fans for the longest, but I became a real fan of Dirk when I got older, like in my older teens, and I'm in the streets more. It's like he was speaking to me a lot. Who another artist though that I could say? I don't know, them the main artists, the whole Chicago scene, period. I was locked in on it. I listened to a lot of Gucci, Meek Mill.
This recent immersion into the hip-hop sound and culture, coupled with the awful things that Taurus had seen growing up on the streets, all amounted to him deciding he was going to make tracks and post them to social media. And at the time, this was under the name Polo G, a.k.a. Mr. Do Too Much.
So why Mr. Do Too Much?
Because I just usually be extra as hell, so it's just like, Mr. Do Too Much.
But this is where his very first issue arose, because making good quality music is not cheap, especially at the time. So Polo G took to the streets to hustle for studio money. And although being on the streets and being involved in that sort of lifestyle did start to make him his own money and he could pay for studio time, he was quickly reminded of the dangers that can come with that lifestyle. As at only 15 years old, he lost his lifelong best friend to gun violence.
Yeah, it was like that just made me look at everything differently, but it was like, I didn't really, you feel me, fall off into the streets correlating to that. It was just like me personally, like after going down the line, after that moment, then it was like, I was just like, fuck it. A lot of times people just glorify the good that go on in the streets, but it's a lot of the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to the street life.
And he claims that this was a massive turning point for him. It allowed him to realize the true dangers of the streets. Everything that everyone had been telling him, all the older people were telling him this, and now he had witnessed it firsthand. And apparently this completely changed his mentality and made him realize, I need to get out of the streets. So at 17 years old, he gets himself in the studio and he wastes no time getting to make his very first tracks. All of the memories and tragedies he had witnessed throughout the street life all flooded out onto the paper and flooded out into his music. And naturally, this allowed local people to really respect his music, get behind his music and feel what he was saying. And this led to him gaining a small social media following.
It was really social media. I was heavy on Facebook, and in Chicago, like Facebook is a big thing for like teens, the youth period. So everybody actively on there every day, and I get on my Facebook Live and just rap.
The majority of Polo's early music was also based around remixes to already popular songs, so this also helped him gain that initial attraction and attention. And musically speaking, it's clear that Polo is of a high level, even from his early stuff. The emotion and the thought that goes into his lyrics are what clearly set him apart.
I'm intentional in whatever I make inside of the studio, and I'm writing all my verses out so it's well thought out. So you hear that in the song, it's storytelling, everything go cohesively. So I just take my time with everything that I do so it can be what it is.
And right from the very beginning, he featured that very graphic and vivid storytelling that has made him so famous today. Something that was certainly different from most of his music today though, was his style. Polo actually started with a drill-based, powerful delivery that was very similar to the other music that he grew up around in his area. And this style was also very popular at the time in 2016. This style and flow worked perfectly with his heavy and powerful lyrics and instantly connected him to the streets that he was still hustling on.
It was like, I was seeing money, but it's like, with me being a rapper, you feel me, I ain't stacking that money and, you feel me, making it double like how it's supposed to, like how the average hustler would. I'm taking the money that I just made off the block and I'm at the studio next day, like a constant hustle with that. So it was like, but it paid off in the long run.
And although most of his early music was of course remixes, he did also still feature some original tracks, with ODA being the first. But despite this music making a small following and getting respect from the streets, it wasn't really breaking out from his area at all and wasn't getting into the mainstream or into the wider rap audience. And as I mentioned at the start, Polo G has always had that drive for being at the top, that drive for success. So he wasn't going to settle on this. But little did he know what he was doing at the time, that time in the studio, that time connecting with the streets, and that time developing his very early music was laying the perfect foundations for his incredible future. In June of 2017, Polo released his first music videos, and he claims that this was also another turning point because he enjoyed making the music video and creating the song for the music video so much that he decided that nothing was going to stop him making this his sole career. He didn't want to do anything else other than music, and that really cemented his future. If it wasn't for this turning point, who knows where he could have been. And thanks to that street activity that he was still involved in, studio money was no longer a problem, and he could actually buy things that he wanted himself too. But as you can imagine, those cons began to stack higher and higher.
I got both of my grandmothers up there. I got a few of my childhood friends that passed away up there. I got two of my uncles that one of my uncle passed away to a car crash, and the other to gunfire. So that was just all people that was just like close to me, near and dear to me.
Not only did he lose friends, loved ones, and associates, when he was only 18 years old, he had been locked up for petty street crimes 5 times.
When I was in the county, that was like my 5th, 6th time being locked up back to back. And even though it was petty stuff, it was like them sit downs made me really think, and I had to learn this ain't what I want to do because it could get worse.
And at this point, he was in a really strange position of his life where he knew what he wanted, he knew what his goals were, but he was caught up in the street life because he needed money to fund his goals and fund his dreams, and that is all he knew at the time. His music was beginning to look promising too, but he was still stuck in this rut of having to do crimes to get where he wants to get. And on the very first day of 2018, he was involved in a high-speed chase.
It was in a stolen car?
Yeah.
And how far did you get before the police finally caught you?
We was gone far away from him. It was just like the car had crashed. So then that's when they caught up to us. Like we ain't had nowhere to go, ain't no more driving after that. You feel me? Trying to run out the car, it was over. This was just this was earlier this year. This was on New Year's Day, actually.
And around this time when he was in jail, the song Troublesome was beginning to get his first level of decent success, racking up a few thousand views. And later that month, he got out of jail and dropped the track Welcome Back, and this continued his success. And 2 months later, in March 2018, he finally saw his first breakout track with the remix to one of his idol's tracks, Never Cared by G Herbo. This rocketed to over 1 million views on YouTube.
But the first song that ever started really taking off was the Welcome Back track. But then it was like I came with the Never Cared right after that, and both of them was doing good. But like Never Cared just took off because it was like everybody liked the song from the first little line that I say in the beginning.
Before I put it in, I smack her ass.
Which was very catchy and soon became almost memed on social media, and this further helped his exposure and recognition. But even still, Polo was wrapped up in the streets. Shortly after he's got this very first breakout, he gets locked up again. And as before, it was only another short sentence for another petty crime. However, believe it or not, this short sentence completely changed his life for the good.
I came up with the Finer Things record while I was incarcerated. I was in Cook County. It was just something that just came to me in the middle, like while I was in my cell. And I just kept on going with it. And the more I was catching a little melody and everything, I felt like I knew I had something on my hand because I couldn't stop singing it. And once I'm singing it to other people and they know the song just off me repeating it to them, I'm like, yeah, it's the one.
His drill style was working and it had just started to pull in numbers, but it was no different to most other rappers from Chicago. And although a lot of them are very popular, he wanted to be special.
Yeah, I was on the typical, feel me, Chicago rap thing, but then it was like the last time I was incarcerated, it was like, that's when I first made the Finer Things track. It was like, when I took that different approach, I liked it that more than just being straight bar heavy. But you feel I still be open to switching it up.
This song is based around a hook with a singing melodic flow, which is completely different to anything he had ever done before.
I feel like definitely the hook It would be the thing that sell the song. I repeat this part in the song where I almost want to sing. Like I know that's something that can get stuck in somebody's head. I always try to be as vivid as I can when I'm writing.
And fitting these stories into perfect melodies is a very hard thing to do. But luckily, he had his mother's voice. So once he learned how to use this new instrument, nothing could stop him. And on the 25th of August 2018, the video and track for Finer Things was finally released, and this changed his life forever. This video and track now has over 137 million views, and it blew the industry away. Polo broke out all over the world as people couldn't believe his incredible natural talent. The lyrics hit deep with people from all walks of life, and the incredibly melodic flow was unlike anything we had seen before, especially coupled with such descriptive and complex lyrics. And with his name now shortened, everyone knew Polo G. From casual listeners to the biggest journalists, his sound infected the industry.
Finer Things was like something new. It was something like nobody ever heard. I went about it on connecting to everybody on a personal and emotional level. No matter what type of demographic you come up from, you could feel this.
And only 7 months later, the success of this one track, Finer Things, brought the attention of the biggest record labels to the party.
I'm just thinking like, damn, like just comparing the two, I just kept on comparing the two. Like I was just here, now I'm here. Feel me, getting these big opportunities. I was just grateful for everything that was going on.
And before you know it, Polo was backed by Columbia Records. Thanks to the amazing connections that a major label can bring, Polo had the opportunity to hook up with New York rapper Lil TJ.
I just was hip to his music, you know, like I rock with TJ in general as an artist and vice versa. So we just linked up on some real like just we rock with each other type stuff.
And you know exactly what track was made that day.
I knew the hook was a banger. That I did know. I knew it was gonna do something, but I didn't know it was gonna do all that. So I'm like, what is it that I could say that could be kind of commercial and street at the same time? It's fun vibe to it, but still, it's still letting you know like where I come from, what goes on, what we was probably into back in the day.
Pop Out exploded and even peaked at number 11 on the US Billboard very quickly after its release on the 13th of January 2019. The two young rappers collaborated and complemented each other perfectly, and despite the lyrics still being dark, that now famous melodic flow from Polo could be used on a more energetic beat, and this took over clubs all over the world. So far, Polo has only been dropping singles, and to show the world that he is really here to stay, he needs to drop a debut album that rocks the industry. So with the release date penciled in of the 7th of June 2019, he got to work.
Okay, do you have a name for the mixtape?
Yeah, legend. Like I was just thinking about how I want to, the mark I want to leave on the world. Not only that, the people that I lost, the mark they left on the world in my eyes, like they died legends to me.
And this peaked at number 6 on the US Billboard. And for many rap fans and music fans in general, this album was the sound of that summer. And there's no doubt in it, this album solidified him as a serious artist who is here to stay. It featured the hit tracks Die and Breed, Through the Storm, Battle Cry, Chosen One and Deep Wounds, making Die a Legend a true masterpiece. Not only did it connect to the hood like no other album, it also connected to people all over the world because the lyrics and the storytelling was so strong, anyone can understand it and interpret it in their own way. But most importantly, this just showed Polo's incredible talent in both his lyrics, flows, and general ability. And as we mentioned earlier, Polo's goal was to get his family and close friends out of the hood and into safety, into the lifestyle that he had always dreamed of. So as soon as he could, he was straight out of North Chicago, posted up in Calabasas, around other rappers and celebrities in a gated community. At this point, everything seemed up. He had the money, he had the success, he had the fame, and most importantly, he had the career he'd always dreamed of. He was out of the hood and his family were safe. And although he was away from all the issues that the streets bring, he still had problems to face.
Some of the hardest challenges I faced throughout life was really just like being depressed, not feeling myself. The pills helped me get through harder times because it's like it take that away from my mind. And in a sense, like sometimes I get creative and want to write a song. It's like them two different outlets to keep what I've been through off of my mind.
He's always been very open and honest about his mental health struggles, and it's been a very important part of his success. It's been a very important part of his music and his general persona. He's been a very honest person that's connected with loads of people all over the world from the way he talks. And he did suffer with depression, anxiety and PTSD, which can't come to a surprise for anyone when you think about the things he had been through in his early life. And only 2 months after the release of Die a Legend, a tragedy nearly happened, and we nearly lost him.
On August 12th, we always have a party for one of my childhood friends who passed away. I'm doing the Xanax all throughout the day, and I done popped so many that I'm forgetting that I'm doing them. We get to the party and everything, and I have some X pills. I had popped 2 of them and took a bottle of champagne. After I took the champagne to the head, it's like everything went black, like some shit out of a movie. When I woke up, I was in a hospital, and my pops was just explaining to me like, yeah, man, they said if you would have been here any second or a minute later, you probably wouldn't have made it. You probably could have passed.
And we could have lost yet another incredibly talented and amazing young rapper way too soon. But what really impresses me about Taurus here is this news completely changed his outlook on drugs. And from that day on, he didn't touch them. This goes to show how mature his mindset is. And it's so inspiring to see someone come out of the hood, still carry some of the demons from that situation, but then to eventually totally come over it and move forward. I wish so many other young rappers would do this because it would save so many lives. The main reason behind this mindset switch was his 1-month-old son, Tremani, who he is determined to be a great father figure for.
Yeah, I definitely go 10 times as hard ever since my son came into like my situation, and then aside from that, I pay more attention to how I carry myself. Because I know he trying to mimic everything I do.
Hearing Polo talk about his son is beautiful, and it's so clear that he is so dedicated to being a great man for his family. He claims that to keep himself away from his mental health struggles, he turns his addiction from drugs to music, and he focuses on the music to heal his pain, which can only be a good thing for us rap fans, and I just hope that it still works, and I hope that that is what he can keep dedicated towards. And it's funny because you can see this switch straight away in the music. You can tell that his PTSD, his thoughts and his struggles instantly translated into music when he stopped the drugs. Because his next track was called Heartless, and this was released in September 2019 and was produced by the legendary DJ Mustard. This track is a symphony of heartache, with the main focus being on the struggles of the streets.
I named the record Heartless, going into detail about the grit of our mindsets when you really indulged in the streets and in the trenches. I had a session booked with DJ Mustard. I came into the session, Mustard was still on his way. It was a dude who was playing the beats for him. And the first beat he played was the Heartless beat, and I jumped right on it like I got something to say on this.
In my opinion, after the release of Heartless, there was a real switch, not only in the way his music was, but in the way he looked at the industry. Everything became a lot more serious, and there is no doubt in my mind that there was a moment where Polo was sat down and decided, you know what, I'm gonna fuck up the industry in 2020. I feel like he really decided that he didn't want to be the new fresh prospect anymore. He wanted to be the main guy. So he kicked this big year off straight away on the 17th of January with the release of a single called First Place featuring Lil TJ. TJ kicked off his career at the same time as Polo with that amazing song Pop Out. So them two together on the track showed great chemistry, and the fans really wanted to see it. Although it was unlikely that it was going to hit the insane heights of Pop Out, it was still really well received, still got really big numbers, and set off his year in the best way possible. This track's success set him up perfectly to kill this year, and it brought even more attention on him than before. So just a month later, a huge track was dropped. Go Stupid featured NLE Chopper, Stunner for Vegas, and Mike Will Made It. It was a more aggressive style to most tracks people had heard from Polo so far. As since his come up, the melodic style really took over thanks to its mainstream success. But this track proved that Polo doesn't need to cater for a specific audience anymore. He is a well-renowned name with dedicated fans who will support all of his music. Go Stupid has just under 200 million Spotify plays and has never shown any signs of stopping. This track also gained him his second entry into the Billboard since that breakout track. This is such an important single because showing diversity can make your fan base even stronger. deliver and allow your audience to trust you. A month before the release of this next project, on the 10th of April, one of my personal favourite Polo G tracks was dropped, called DND. This is a great single, and the reason why I like it so much is because of the diversity that is displayed within the track itself. Some of the verses and elements on the beat really show that hard style I was talking about from Go Stupid. But then when the chorus and hook come around, you get that beautiful singing melodies that he'd became famous on. So overall, the blend of the two is just incredible. Polo himself said that,
and I know I needed something hard. From Down Legend, I made a name for making like heartfelt music and real like sentimental music. So I just wanted to get him something that was real hard, but a mixture of both.
Creating that diversity, creating them two styles to work on one piece of music is outstanding. And this is something that he definitely took forward. Polo also mentioned that this was his last track before that upcoming album in May. And fuck me, we had no idea what was going to hit us.
Making this album was different because, to be totally honest, my first time around, I was experiencing writer's block. Sometimes I just wasn't up for it because, like I said, it was new to me to go to the studio every day. So the second time around, I just really started to apply myself. It started to flow easily. I just wanted to have a different approach to how so much more music to choose from. You can really hear the elevation and what the message that I'm trying to convey.
I've spoke about the GOAT in a dedicated video before, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible. But this album is a complete masterpiece. That vivid lyrical ability was taken to a whole new level here. His emotion and his passion is highlighted on every single track, on every single word, and once again, it's taken to another level. And the thing that really made this project stand out was the diversity. That diversity shown on DND carried itself throughout the whole project. There was tracks like 21 which brought that beautiful and meaningful style, but there was also some hard-hitting bangers like Flex and Chinatown. It was also nice to see Polo flaunting his wealth and success, because a lot of his songs before were about struggles, heartbreak, issues in his life. On some of these tracks here, he lets himself go. He flexes, he talks about how great he is, and it's nice to see that type of arrogance. It brings a great amount of energy to every single song. To be honest, I feel like the GOAT has just got better over time. Like, the more you listen to these songs, the better they get. The GOAT was just a combination of all the best things about Polo G rolled into one project. It was incredible. And I'm definitely not alone with these thoughts, because the GOAT debuted at number 2 on the US Albums Billboard, so you can't complain. It was well received and people loved it. Not only did the album hit the Billboard, 10 of the 16 tracks hit the Billboard. That's insane. So with this crazy success in mind, it'll probably come to no one's surprise that the rest of 2020 was quite a quiet year for Polo, really. There were some really great feature appearances like Three-Headed Goat with Baby and Dirk, and Hate the Other Side from Juice WRLD's new album, which were both Billboard hits. However, the two notable takeaways from Polo's 2020 came in September. He dropped the single Epidemic, and obviously when he dropped this, we were in the middle of a global pandemic, so everyone sort of believed that it was going to be about the pandemic in some way, but it actually wasn't. It was actually about an epidemic and pandemic that has been going on a lot longer than any virus, really. And that's the struggles and dangers of the streets and the terrible environments that a lot of people, especially of that ethnic minority, have to deal with and have to grow up in. And yeah, it's a touching song. It goes without saying that at this point in 2020, like, Polo G is done. He's completed his goals. He's completed what he needed to do. He's took over the industry. He's at the top of the game. He's released the best album of the year by miles, in my opinion. And yeah, he's killing it. But this guy doesn't stop. This guy's special. So before the year had even ended, he set about his next goal. And later in September, he announced his own record label called ODA, which stands for Only Dreamers Achieve. This had the aim of pulling kids off the street who were just like himself and get them into a dream career with the backing of one of the best people in the game. He also previously set up his own AAU team in Chicago. This was to get street kids into basketball and sports instead of crimes.
I just feel like it's real important just to show the kids something different, because the block or just being in the neighborhood 100% of the time be a waste of time.
Throughout the rest of 2021's early months, we saw Polo return to his heavy drill style with GNF. a song that shocked his new fans and satisfied his early supporters. It appeared that 2021 was going to be a year for Polo to take his brand and his career to yet higher levels. However, at this point, we had no clue that a song that he had previously teased and previewed with Ina Banks on an acoustic performance was going to take him to the next level straight away, overnight.
To me, honestly, I didn't make a song that was too different than anything that I'd made in the past. It was just the level that I'm at now. I got a stronger support system, feel me? And a lot of people gave it that push to make it #1.
For like a year straight, everybody was asking me for that song. My little brother keep telling me like, man, when you gonna drop this song? Or my sister keep asking me about it, like, when you gonna drop this song? And then I had just put in my search engine on Twitter, only bitch I give a conversation to a Siri. And I kept on swiping up, and it was like 2 minutes long, people tweeting that. It had like 2 million views on the lyric video, 6 million on the acoustic on YouTube, 40,000 TikTok videos. So I'm like, no, I gotta shoot this, I gotta do this.
And this is one of the best decisions he could have possibly made, because this was yet another turning point in Polo's career. Rapstar almost instantly became Polo's most listened to and most streamed song, and straight away it rocketed to #1. So at this point, there's no arguing that Polo G is the rap star of the moment. It's a song that encapsulated the whole industry, and I think that's just simply down to how perfect the song flows and sounds. It's as simple as that. It's a masterpiece with catchy hooks, one-liners, inspiring writing, but most importantly, still deep and powerful lyrics. Everyone fell in love with this song, especially Polo's true fans.
I won't love a hoe after we fuck, she can't get near me. Only bitch I give a conversation to a Siri. The only bitch I give a conversation to a Siri. I made that the first verse, and I already had that in my notes. I always try to say some type of punchline or some type of one-liner that people gonna remember.
And this incredible single was used as the perfect vehicle to promote his up-and-coming 3rd studio album, Hall of Fame. In June 2021, 1 month after his final single, which featured his childhood idol, Lil Wayne, the full project was dropped. All the way through his career, Polo has been very conservative with features. We've only seen him on a few other artists' tracks, and he's genuinely only ever had a handful of artists feature on his own music. However, we've recently seen an increase in feature appearances, as he knows this will only benefit his career. Hall of Fame is a perfect example of this, as for the first time ever with a Polo project, we have seen a high amount of huge features. Leroy, Dirk, Wayne, Scory, G Herbo, Rod Wave, DaBaby, Thugger, Nicki, Pop Smoke, Fivio Foreign, and the main man, Roddy Ricch, all grace this album. To be honest, every feature is clearly thought out and works perfectly with their particular track. Sometimes just throwing big names on a track list isn't a great idea, but here it is. Impressively, half of the tracks are still just Polo on his own, which almost creates another album in itself. He's definitely still standing on his own 2 feet while using the right features to his advantage to continue his rise to the very top.
I don't necessarily need to get a song or a feature in with an artist or a network with an artist, but that will help my career get to the next level. So, and me knowing and understanding that, I just try to come out of my shell.
We could talk about Hall of Fame for hours, because not only is it the longest Polo G album ever released with 20 full-length tracks, it's also easily the most diverse body of work he's ever released. There's so many different styles to play with here, from his traditional sort of melodic rap to his hard drill rap to love songs to traditional party bangers. It's got everything.
I go in there and freestyle, I write at home, I write to the beat in the studio, I cook up with a producer, write off a melody. I was just trying everything that I could just to get a new sound out of myself.
And yes, that vivid, violent poetry is still present. Bloody Canvas is one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard. His lyrical ability is just on point here, and it really paints a picture in your head of what is happening in the lyrics. It is so powerful. And something else that separates Hall of Fame from his previous work is an increase in beat variety. There's been a few people that have criticized Polo for using very similar piano style beats. I don't get this criticism because they always sound really good and they always work, and the delivery he brings to each track is different, so the music's still different. However, you can tell he wanted to shut his haters up, because here he released tracks with some really different beats. There's no doubt my favourite feature has got to be Leroy and Dirk. That track No Return is incredible. Leroy obviously kills the chorus and Dirk brings a fire performance as well. Overall, that is definitely one of the best songs on there without a doubt. But for me, the bottom line is that, yeah, this album really does cement Polo G in the Hall of Fame. And his consistency through the years has been unlike anyone else of his quality. Hall of Fame became Polo's first #1 album. It even beat Migos' Return with Culture 3. And that album even had a deluxe version, which Polo never did. And this just goes to show the levels he's getting to, because not only is he pulling the numbers, it's better quality than what the Migos released too. So he's at the top of the game. The bigger picture of this documentary is about legacy. Polo G definitely had a fast rise to the top of the game. But there's no doubt that throughout his very short career, there's been serious stepping stones and foundations put in place for a truly long and fulfilled career, but also to remain as one of the greatest of all time, even when he's gone. It is very hard being a fan of these young rappers because I feel like most people, especially the more mainstream side, don't appreciate the talent and what they have until they're either a lot older or sadly gone. Of course, I pray to every single god there is that Polo G keeps safe and makes it to the end of his very long and fruitful career. Because not only is it going to be amazing to see what he does over the years and how he develops as he gets to an older guy, but I just also can't wait to see him get the respect he deserves and see that respect paid over the years from everyone when he eventually gets to the position where you can't avoid it. From diverse, inspirational and powerful music to trying to create a better life for the kids from where he came from, Polo G has gone about his career, his work and his personal life in one of the most professional and impressive ways we have ever seen. I believe that if he continues down this strong path, continues to give back, continues to spread his positivity and messages, as well as most importantly, consistently improving and dropping incredible music, there is nothing stopping Polo G from becoming one of the greatest rappers and artists to have ever lived. But as I said, I almost guarantee that you won't realise how incredible and how amazing his work has been until it's done.
Something that motivated me to keep going is just knowing that I gotta set example for my son. Just being in competition with my own self and really wanting to provide for my son, give him the best life he can have.
On trial, I was just a young child. Gave you 25 to life, all these years gone by, and you never asked why. All you did was pray to God, all you did was waste your time. Now you about to come home, and I'm about to have a child. It's gonna be worthwhile, it's gonna be worthwhile. Remember nights I cried, now we at the finish line.